Приветствуем всех!
Всем
Good
доброго дня.
afternoon, good evening to everyone. Dear friends, thank you so much for having connected to the online workshop of the Secret Doctrine by Madame Blavatsky. We're happy to welcome each of you because it's exactly the fabric of consciousness creating the particular energy that consists of each of us. All these images and thought forms that we're trying to formulate in our world and make them alive, the most important thing is to make this work possible without over-concentration of our mind. The today's Sloka, the 11th Sloka that we are being studied, is in a sacred way combined with today's date, the 11th of April, and we're studying the 11th Sloka of the stanzas of the Secret Doctrine. 11 is actually the cross of currents where the lighting is born. We can say that it's the lighting of thought that exists in the very moment, that is alive, that doesn't have time. Thanks to the thought, we shouldn't have time. It's beyond time. It can penetrate so deep. Thanks to the teaching, we know that the thought penetrates even the auras and achieves the center of the focusing point. Today's sloka is the way we apply the law, the particular law that starts acting, and soon we will see the formulation starting. In the next slokas, we'll have the translations into the universe through the crossroads of currents where the lighting is born. It's important that the pure thought is born as consciousness. Why? If the law should always be applied, which we know according to Agni Yoga teaching, that the law is applied everywhere, then the task of the human being is to make it easier for the law to be applied. How can we do that? Through the pure thought. And we make it difficult for the law to be applied if our thoughts are not pure. The unstoppable character of our consciousness make it easy for the thought to flow, then it achieves the very deep point of our hearts and the crossroads of currents, or the sacred number of 11 that has the two opposite powers, give these impetus. That is the keynote for today. Let it be the lighting of your thoughts, of your image you have in your thoughts for today, because there is a particular notion that the thought cannot be achieved. In order to achieve it, our thoughts should be pure. Otherwise, we cannot achieve anything. It will be there till the absolute space connects with the ideally reflected form, and then the form of 11 will be there. Wish you luck today. The stanza for today is quite complicated. Of course, we already have questions for the material of the Secret Doctrine, we'll definitely answer at the end of the seminar. Today, we have the interpreters working with us today. It's Alexander Bobko and Tatiana Trubnikova. And it's great that we have an opportunity to translate. We're also grateful. Thank you. Thank you. And the speaker says that the egregor of space that is multilingual would not be possible to exist for it. So we're the conductors, you can say. Yeah, and we follow each other. So let's keep the pace of this rectified line of the thought and follow it. Let's go. So the floor is given to the head of the School of Theosophy, Mr. Vladimir Yary. Good afternoon, good evening once again. And let's start from the thought of the day. Madam Blavatsky gives us the following thought for today. Man consists of desires. As is his desire, so is his will. And as is his will, so is his deed. And whatever deed he does, that he will reap. We can see here the cause and effect connection. The human being consists of desires, that's true. That means that the desires, that is the basic power we have. The basic power of life, the desire for life is there when we start breathing. And these incoming and outcoming thoughts and impetus, this is life, existence. As the being, it can be expressed with inhalation and exhalation. If we start in the right manner to combine these divine powers of life, then first of all we should draw attention to our self-perfection. And the way we make ourselves perfect happens as we permeate this current, this energy, the energy of life, or the universal thought. In the 11th Sloka in particular, stanza 3, we have this singular power created. It's androgynous. It can have many names. It can be called cold and heat, light and darkness, but the names come from differentiation. What is differentiated? It's matter. The spirit is self-containing. It is the basis of power that spiritualizes each atom of the matter. And this power, let's correlate it with the cause and effect connection. As spirit and matter, when spirit and matter are together, they work together. That is the polarity. According to the polarity, the space and time are created. The space-time as one word. Every consciousness, every mind, every human being defines this space-time for itself through matter, through power, through substance, that by differentiating makes the energies come together. the energies become one. Or there is causality, we can say. The causality turns the internal powers all the time. They go to the outer space. So the polarity is there. It's differentiation. For our mind, human mind, as the connection of cause and effect is defined by these powers that have many names. These powers are called nidanas. I'd like to be more specific about the combination of nidanas that are caused by desires. The desire had its effect on the will, so the will expressed the desire. And definitely the space-time is created through these energies. It's the borders we have. If we go beyond the borders, we understand the subtle nature of this cause and effect, this combination expressed in nidanas. The desires can be expressed in skandhas as attributes of personality. Every personality has its borders, its limits, whereas each personality has an individual character of high nature. High individuality is endogenous every way. It doesn't have personality, and therefore the very nature of nidanas, the cause, is in ego. It's our ego, our individuality. As the result, it's our personality. These two cause and effect connections are required for understanding. It's needed to co-sound, for co-sound between personality and individuality, so that there is peace in our soul. If we consider the very era we are in, and understand the 11th Sloka as we can understand it, that speaks us of the fabric. That when the breath of fire was there above it, this fabric was spreading. When the mother touches this fabric, it contracts. The evolution and involution in themselves are the required movement, motion of the good law will. And the good law will, we know that Brahma gives birth to 12 gods, and the 12 gods give birth to nidanas. If we look at the Kala Chakra wheel of time and see the parameter of the space, the direction of the space, the parameters, these are the directions of our mind that can reflect the reality. According to the spatial direction of purple color, the Kala Chakra wheel, we can see the two constellations. One of them is the Aquarius. The spatial direction includes 10 nidanas. That are the 5 elements. The elements are in the same pair of male and female principles. In their nature, they're androgynous. If we take every pair of nidanas, we will see this combination of spirit and matter coming together. This unity is the crucial factor that we shall understand. In this unity, actually, that is the polarity of spirit and matter. We see the androgyny of spirit and matter. Quite exciting, isn't it? If we take the era of Aquarius, symbolized by the 11th sector, opening this 11th sector of Aquarius, the hierophant of this sector is the blue monkey, guiding the elements of fire,
змеей огненной, отцом стихия земля,
the
и
father
стихия коза, тоже
or
земля,
earth, and mother god, which is also earth. This is the duad of male and female, and either of the white monkey and the white rooster. The white monkey is the male principle, and the rooster is the female principle. In this pair, in these pairs, is where we can see the impetus of the fiery snake, because the fiery snake formulates the father or the idea of development. The idea is to understand everything in unity, regardless of the state of space-time we're in. We are in a particular state of our mind. If we see the unity, we can go out of this space-time into eternity, into limitless nature. Internally, the human being connects its life energies with the outer energy of eternal life, its eternal combination that moves forward our consciousness. If we take the era of Aquarius, we define the three main elements in this constellation: fire, earth, and ether. Then we'll definitely define the fire as the power of desire. That is the power of desire, of limits. But what is the limit? What is it for? Further, we see the limits anti-clockwise in Aquarius. It's limits of love over the yellow horse. And the yellow horse is justice. Justice will be expressed in the yellow goat when it materializes. The justice shall materialize, and the justice that is love formulates itself. So the goat is the form, the shape, and this love is not eternal. It's formulated but not eternal according to our space-time. We shall make it eternal. It means that if there is fire in the heart, then there is an opportunity to reconnect with the high justice. That is how we see the androgynous character that allows us to abandon the wheel of samsara, or the dark patterns of our consciousness. That is the way to be enlightened and to allow these powers of mind to act. Then the action goes by itself from the power of compassion. That is the highest love in action. This power of compassion in the era of Aquarius is primarily
начинает работать через мужской принцип обезьянка,
working through the male principle of the white monkey,
которая являет себе
that is
непосредственное прикосновение гармонии,
the direct connection to the harmony
оформится в петухе белом,
that will formulate in the white rooster as
и вот это
prosperity,
неповторимое
this prosperity
и будет признаком чувства красоты.
is the
Так вот,
feature of the feeling of beauty.
обезьяна синяя, которая иерофантом этого сектора является,
The white monkey, the hierophant of the sector,
сама по себе обезьянка — это красота или гармония,
that is beauty or
явно
harmony,
присуща мысли.
harmony of thought.
А мысль, как мы знаем, суть ее в энергии психической.
It means
Это ее
the
суть.
psychic energy.
Это
So
кристалл
it's the crystal,
психической энергии,
the psychic energy,
так называемый.
the so-called
Кристалл
crystal,
и выдает это чувство
which
красоты.
gives this feeling of
Сам
beauty.
кристалл, когда
The
оформляет
crystal
мужчину,
itself, when it's formulated by the mother,
облекает его. А облекает
when
что?
the mother
Обезьяну,
makes
будущую,
what?
которая есть
Makes the white monkey alive. This white monkey is
вот эта вся гармония.
the
Он
perfect
божественный
human
человек.
being, the divine human being,
В этом
and
будет
it's
успех.
finished.
А когда это всё
It's
произойдет, когда
the
единство
goal.
наступит,
When the
тогда
goal
он увидит
comes
чувство
true,
гармонии,
then there is
чувство
unity
красоты.
where he sees this feeling of beauty from the unity, and so there is splendor.
Так вот, самое важное,
The most important in the 11th
происходит то,
sector
что необходимо эволюционному процессу,
has what is required for the evolution,
молекулярная
for
составляющая.
the molecular
А это
component,
есть материя,
what is matter,
а в ней находится сила, называемая субстанция.
with the power called the substance inside.
Вот представьте себе, эта сила в материи,
This power in
она
matter,
внутри ее
can you imagine? It's
начинает
inside and it starts
обскурировать
obscuring
саму материю,
the very
утончая ее,
matter,
трансмутируя,
subtilizing it, transmutating and transforming it, subtilizing the molecules.
и человек
And the human being is able to go
его дух и разум
from
способны
one to another with the mind and consciousness capable of
что
um,
повышается вибрация,
performing the power
молекулы другого
by
свойства вибрации
upgrading the vibrations.
окружают
Molecules of other level of vibrations go around the atom that is the human
И
being.
здесь вот получается очень важная деталь. Ведь каждый человек,
And this is very important.
человечество,
Every person and
они
the
являются
humanity, they are the atoms
планеты Земля.
of the
Посмотрите,
planet of Earth, of the spirit of this
мы
planet.
атомы.
We are the atoms,
Вот эти атомы,
and these atoms,
когда изменяется частота молекулярного
when the frequency of molecules movement changes, these atoms
дают свою эманацию
give their emanation of forces
высших вибрациях.
to the in the upper vibrations.
Самое
And
важное,
then, which is very important, we find ourselves in the fourth dimension, from the third to the fourth dimension. We're now in this epoch,
которое позволяет нам это сделать.
the epoch that allows us to do that.
Вы можете себе представить такое, да? Ну, то, что,
Let's imagine
как правило,
that
да, на Земле вот он живет
a human on Earth,
своего существования.
well, he lives for the certain period of time, and
Можем заложить такой
this,
фундамент для себя.
and we can make a very strong basis into this time period. If we start
Состояние безличностное, андрогинное.
to have the non-personal condition,
Состояние любви, сострадания,
this is the condition of compassion and love,
меняет астральное тело.
and it changes the astral body, because the astral body
Оно
it consists of molecules, but at the same time, it is made of atoms and ether. And ether are the forces. What forces? This is the force of the idea, the force of the third. What for? In order to prepare. If we go clockwise into this epoch, into the epoch of Aquarius, well, first of all, we see the Logos, the peacock. And we go from matter to the spirit, but only after we went from spirit to the matter, when the reflection is there, when the reflection of that face is there, of this eternal life, absolute mind. We have this opportunity, and we use it according to this meditation, which today refers to the Aquarius epoch. But we have a skunk group, and this group tells us the combinations of nidans. We have talked about the constellation, and now we are going to discuss nidans. Because the human is full of desires, nidans are connected with the mind and consciousness of the human. A human is a God that has this free will, has created those nidans and these links. And then there appeared karma and law of karma. Positive or negative one, this depends on the condition of our consciousness. So the first desire, if we start from unity, we go from the Aquarius epoch and we see the white dragon. This is the century, and the century shows us 100-year period, and in this time we are in the field of wisdom, because the ether is a condensate. It is full of the dragon's character, existence, and in this existence we live in the century. So we can show wisdom of existence. This is a very important key point. The century defines desire to achieve wisdom for us and to improve the astral body. This will help you to do this. And if we move from the unity to the particular issues, then we see the year, which is 365 days, and it is symbolized by a blue dragon. Here we see the thought. It is very important because the ether creates the form, the shape, but this shape brings the idea, and in order to open up this idea, you need a wise thought. So we should learn how to achieve this high, pure, wise thought during this year. And this pure thought is created by the light inside us. We do have this light, but it is hidden by different desires. Now we are talking about the desires. If the person has the desire to become not personalized, then he or she has these wise thoughts, because it doesn't matter what you're thinking about, you are in harmony. It's the golden section rule. And this golden section will be always expressed in every thought if we are thinking not about ourselves, but if we are thinking about every other person. In this way, we create changes in karma, and we make the connection of spirit and matter. And in this way, we also make our desires in the upper level. Then we have the month. The concentration is even higher. And for the current month, and it is around 30 days time period, it depends on the month. The fiery hair, it's the knowledge of spirit. The fiery hair follows as a second one, because the first one is the tiger, and then the second one is the hare. They are both fiery elements as the spirit and matter. The hare is a female principle. All knowledge should be shown, and actually this knowledge is shown for the whole month, in order to give the opportunity to the next symbol of the yellow dragon to become the existence for this knowledge of the spirit. We are always in existence. So the dragon, as a century and as a year, is also present right now. And every one of us is going to create his existence according to his mindset and according to his possibilities. The white horse weak, the energy is even stronger. We feel these forces even more. Those forces, that light coming towards us. The white horse symbolizes love and fairness. This is the law of the laws. And it is finalized in the white goat. The white horse is a limitless love. That's why we all strive to understand this law. Otherwise, we're not going to realize the existence. How are we going to create a wise existence if we are like in the fog? So the white horse symbolizes this week, these 6 days, is the period when we are able to concentrate on the law, and this law will spiritualize us. It will provide power to us. It will make our vision clear and enhance our ability to identify things. So it's the day of the black snake, which tells us right away that snake catches its tail, the energy creates a sphere. It closes the circle of the forces inside us that are able to create according to the existence that we have got from the century and epoch and month and a week and a day. But this snake is a black one, so its nature is akasha. The quality of the vibration, if our thought is a high one, then the desire is also a high one, and it creates a desire and will that are on a high vibration, and this makes us to change, and this changes our consciousness and the space. We should think like this. So today I was thinking just before to speak about Nidanas, just a white page, no hints of what I'm going to say. I just have the white paper in front of me, and I see the combination of Nidans and nothing more. So when there is this white page, we go outside of our space and time, and we connect with the external space. I mean, the aura is cleaned according to the calmness of your mind, and the imprint of the present moment appears. The necessity of the present moment, it switches on. Preparation to the 11th Sloka, stanza 3, and many other things are inside this month, this year, and epoch, all in one, the purity of mind. So this meditation given by Elena Blavatsky is a great one. It's like the stairs upwards from existence to non-existence and from non-existence to existence. These two currents are the topic of the third shloka and stanza 11. It expands the fabric when the breath of fire is upon it. It contracts. When you see, there are two options, and this duality is always like this. It contracts when the breath of the mother touches it. Then the sons dissociate and scatter. To return, you see the differentiation has begun, but these forces are already working. The sons dissociate and scatter to return into their mother's bosom at the end of the great day, which means Manvantara, and re-become one with her, with the mother, in the bosom of mother, to stay in their own nature. When it is cooling, so life in mother, the energy, when it's cooling, it becomes radiant, and the sons expand and contract through their own selves and hearts. They embrace infinitude. And this condition of infinitude can be realized and understood only when we have the desire of internal heat to connect with the external heat, which also means to the connection of matter and spirit, mother and father, which gives the opportunity for the forces to differentiate. And now everything is the one. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for this detailed explanation. I came across the idea that the habit of the old mindset, like we create some image and it becomes an old one, it should be updated and changed. The habit of this image of the past, it makes the distance between us and the light larger. We recently talked about the transformation, how the energy changed the consciousness. And I thought, if this fabric that we're talking about today, well, it consists of small lights. Let's imagine some device that should create the current. This device at first should become full of energy and then it can give the current and give this explosion, this lightning. So what should the person accumulate in order to change the habit? How is it done? It is done if we prevent the old way to think.
Then the mind cannot become the plain paper and move forward. The whole third stanza, the whole mystical third stanza corresponds to the third achievement. The third achievement is the pure wild desire. That is, as we go into any situation without fear, we understand that it's without fear. But we should also go without hope. How is it possible? We are combined together in this unity without hope to be absolutely reflected, without hope of a further formulation of shapes according to the initial state. This desire without hope, without fear, is this power. The third power we get as a result goes beyond the cycle of older images, goes beyond and allows to go beyond without over-concentration of our mind. This state of over-concentration of our mind can be called attracting more elements to the karma. Therefore, karma becomes too heavy. And as a result of energy coming, karma becomes light and starts its motion. We follow the law only as we have power to renovate and to follow the state of renovation, giving new transformation, new reflection. And the Secret Doctrine is the great deed of Madame Blavatsky for eternity, because she gives these great opportunities to renovate the images of our thinking capacity. then we subtilize our mind as a result. That is how we go beyond this eternal cycle of our mind. When it happens, we should keep our eyes open to see the images, this state of a crossroads of currents means that we follow this number 11, bringing this flame, this state of flame, renovating, upgrading, moving away the image of the old thinking. Today we have such an opportunity. And through Sloka 11, we can see this flame, this sparkle, and therefore give us the opportunity to develop this new image, to get rid of what we're used to in our mind. That is the keynote that we'll start from. Let's start thinking and looking at the research of stanza 3 of Sloka 11. Consider the following moments. We've tried to tell about these difficult notions we have there. That will help us understand ourselves for the human being. Of course, we'll answer the questions. Thank you for sending them. Throughout the whole presentation, you can write to the question answer button below in the Zoom platform, and the program allows you to do so. Let's keep our eyes open. Let's not be over-concentrated in the cycle. We have this opportunity to combine and to have the moments coming one after another without concentrating on the very center. And let's start, my dear friends. It spreads when the breath of fire is above it. It contracts when the mother's breath touches it. Then the sons separate and scatter in order to return to the bosom of the mother at the end of the great day, in order to reconnect with her. When it cools down, it becomes radiant. Her sons unfold and contract by themselves, and with their hearts they contain infinity. The first point we touch upon is who is she, it, that spreads. That is the fabric. Fabric contains of yarn. It's an eternally existent primordial substance. There was nothing for it to be shaped on. There was nothing, and it corresponds to the great powers. The eternal existent, what does it mean? In our understanding, in human understanding, this is pure spirit. And the pure spirit is the material from which the objective universe or universes develop further, because there is not one universe but many. We can say that the fabric is the primordial substance, which is the basis of form of future worlds or universes. How does it happen that this form is there? How is it woven? That is the combination of fiery waves. How they are combined. That is any combination starts from effect on the very structure, the primordial substance, and the combination of fiery waves, therefore, weaves the thread of connection and influence. Therefore, we can speak of homogeneous rhythms for the universal inspiration coming as a result of universal primordial energy of existence. There are several names for the fabric in the sources, and we'll consider them definitely. Matrix matter is the basis for all the matter of the universe. This matter matrix, what is it? What is its capacity for it to be the basis for all the matter of the universe? It is the uncoupled substance. Therefore, it can now be poured into forms by the creators into further existence. The matrix matter has the uncoupled mind, which is the primordial substance effect actually. We can say that it's the absolute mind, but further the creators will transform it into forms. Materia lucida, or the luminous matter, is the stage of manifestation of primary matter on the astral plane, yet available for research according to Madame Helena Roddick and visible to the human eye with open energy centers in the form of luminous matter of various shades. Of course, for that, the centers shall be pure, and the matter is in the form of luminous matter. In the human being, it's permeated as the auric lights, and from this matter, the spirit builds its subtle bodies. They are various. Further, it will become less and less subtle. It will be solidified. Materia lucida, matrix matter, are types of spatial energies that will one day be at the disposal of mankind. It will be the sixth race, the seventh race, and as predicted by the teachers, will definitely have the apparatus that will be able to apply and use them. Materia lucida, matrix matter will be possible for to be used through them. It will become the microcosm of the human being. And materia lucida, matrix matter, is the basis because the human being is itself the conductor of the subtlest fiery energies. It's not possible to develop the fiery energy, but we shall maintain it, keep it. And as we are in the fifth race, in the fourth, we develop it. In the fifth, we start guarding it. So these opportunities for these are concentrated in people and the human body and its conductors. Materia matrix, or the primary matter, the primary substance. What can it be called in the planes of existence? It corresponds to Mula Prakriti or Akasha, because it's the matter and at the same time it's spiritual because it permeates all the planes. It's the primary garment of the spirit. This is the focus through which the radiations of the grain of the spirit are refracted and spread.
Это тот фокус, где преломляется, через который распространяется излучение зерна духа.
The chalice forms a triangle between the heart and the solar plexus. That is the notion of the fabric of Asurgina, that is the synonym for the solar fabric connecting the earthly world with the divine. It's not possible to permeate by division. Permeate is what is possible for the connection of the spirit and the sun. The sun concentrates the spirit and matter. Astrogina is synonym to the sun, the cosmic garment of the spirit of the mother of the world. Further, these states will construct the physical form. Those on earth have centers that make it possible to penetrate into spiritual areas, but involution has deprived humanity of some protective properties. That is, it's closed the centers by forms, but going through the point, the two crossed rays,
Можем говорить о том, что человечество начинает уже освобождаться
make
от
it possible for humanity to liberate itself, and therefore we can permeate the spiritual areas. The centers, the new cycles start opening up. The fabric, yarn, is an eternally existing primordial substance. In our understanding, it's pure spirit, the material from which the objective universe or universes develop. When the breath of fire or father touches the yarn, it expands. It means that as subjective material, it's limitless, eternal, indestructible as the subjective material. But when the breath of mother touches it, or when the time for manifestation comes and it needs to become objective and have a form, it shrinks, as the objective material form cannot be limitless. So the key point we've come to, if the fabric or substance exists and has its phases and densifications or varieties, so the pattern of eternity, which creates or forms worlds from the single state, it means that there exists something that creates these patterns of Fusi or consciousness, that is the father's breath. When the breath of fire or the father over the yarn, it expands and spreads. That is, as subjective material, it's boundless, eternal, indestructible. The fabric spreads when the father's breath is over it. What is the father's breath? How can we associate it? We relate to Hindu mythology and history in Sanskrit. The ancient knowledge says that in spirit, it's the spirit moving over the waters of space as the aspect of the Holy Spirit moving over the waters of creation, Narayana. In esoteric symbolism, it means the primary manifestation of the spirit of life, spread in the infinite space. It spreads itself in the infinite space. We can also say that it's Swambhava. Swambhava is the self-existent being, self-existent or self-forming, the one building its own body. There is also the term of Svechhathina, which is voluntary, of one's own free will, voluntary dissolution of individual consciousness in state of bliss. Swambhu is a metaphysical and philosophical term meaning spontaneously self-generated or self-existent being. That is the epithet of Brahma. Swambhuva is also the name of the first Manu. There is also the notion of Swambhu-Shunyata, spontaneous self-development, the very existence of the real in the unreal, the eternal set in the periodic asset. This eternal set in the periodic asset is the greatest mystery when Shunya becomes prosperity, the unreal, it becomes real. The key point is the breath of the Father, or the breath of fire, is the period of the fiery nebula, connecting the unreal and the real, the eternal and the periodic. When the breath of mother touches it, that is when the time comes for manifestation, that it needs to become objective and take shape, it contracts because the objective material form cannot be unlimited. If Swayambhava is the epithet of Brahma, then this is the first emanation of Ray of Parabrahma, which changes the state of indestructible, eternal, infinite space. What is it? How is it possible? It seems it's impossible if the indestructible, eternal, infinite space can be changed by the ray of Parabrahma, Swabhavat. That is Swabhavat. Swabhavat is the universal substance and matter. What stands behind it? A spirit and essence of substance stands behind it.
Елены Петровны, это величайшее состояние.
Nobody has seen this great space, a state, except for Madame Blavatsky, this great notion of Swabhava. All comes from it and everything returns to it at the end of life cycle. In esotericism, it's called Father-Mother, that is the plastic essence of matter. Without plastic essence of matter, this notion of Father-Mother wouldn't be there. The cosmic fabric consists of all manifestations of psychic energy and is decorated with material lucida. The fabric of the best energies will be woven again, and material lucida is clothed from the highest energies. That is, the matter is clothed in a radiant fabric of energy. In the cosmogony of the ancients, cosmic matter, primordial matter, is identified by the symbol of water or clay as an analog of plastic material from which the objective universe is created. Boiling clay is primordial matter, differentiated from chaos, the first one to be differentiated. Then it shall be born from this clay, and the words can be constructed. Therefore, a fabric or yarn, as it's known, consists of threads, that is, a material that directly builds or creates the very fabric. What is this building material actually during the creation of the universe? What can this material be? Madame Blavatsky says that that is plastic world substance, Swabhavat. How does it happen? In the commentary by Madame Blavatsky, we go to the study, and that is the study we're trying to do.
The innate force always strives to unite with the essence that gave birth to it, which resides outside, and therefore the key point, mother causes the fabric to contract, father induces the fabric to expand. It is an eternal process of involution and evolution, that is the renewal of consciousness. The father is inside, the mother is outside. Atoms and the fabric is the world's substance. Atoms, after the decomposition of the body into its primary essence, this body turns into vapor and is preserved in the bosom of the mother. According to science, attraction between bodies is directly proportional to mass and inversely proportional to the square distance. From an occult point of view, the so-called law of attraction cannot cover all the diversity of planetary rotation. Take, for example, Kepler's first and second laws included in Newton's law as presented by Herschel. Elena Blavatsky offers. Under the influence of this gravitational force, which induces two spherical bodies to mutually attract each other, these latter, if they move at a sufficiently close distance, are deflected into orbits concave towards each other and trace arcs around a common center of attraction or one around another, considered in this system as motionless. What does this mean? The possible shape of these arcs is limited to the figures known in geometry under the general term of conic sections. It depends on specific conditions. So these conic sections, this is the general name for these shapes. There are three aspects, three conditions. The first one is speed, the second one is direction, distance, and the third one is a direction. Determining what type of arc we will get, an ellipse, a circle, a parabola, or hyperbola, but it must be one of the above. According to science, the phenomenon of planetary motion is the result of action of two forces, centripetal and centrifugal, and the fact that a body falling on the ground in a straight line perpendicular to the horizontal level of water does so under the law of gravity or under the influence of centripetal force. And a scientist, occultist, as Elena Blavatsky writes, might raise the following objections on this matter. There are 4 points here. First, in planetary motion, there cannot be a trajectory such as a circle, because any circle is already a restriction. Second, the argument given in Kepler's third law, namely that squared times of rotation of the planet around the Sun are related as their average distances from the Sun in the third power, in a very strange way allows for libration, eccentricity in the behavior of planets. And as long as the nature of the forces governing this behavior remains unchanged, such eccentricity can arise, as he himself says, only due to the intervention of some external cause. Once again, there is a second opposite power. Third one, the phenomenon of gravity or fall doesn't exist by itself and can only arise as a result of a conflict between forces. By mental analysis or pruning, we may come to the conclusion that it is an isolated force. And the fourth aspect, planets, atoms, or particles of matter are attracted to each other not along straight lines connecting their centers, but along curves that spiritually get rounded, gradually approaching each other's centers. So what can we see in this case? Ebbs and flows are also not a consequence of attraction. The key point, these phenomena are a result of confrontation between constrained and free forces, seemingly irreconcilable, but in fact based on interdependence and harmony. This key point is the center of Sloka 11. Understanding of the entire Sloka. There are two forces, and externally they seem irreconcilable, but internally they are dependent on each other. And this is a harmony, this is interdependence. Any growth depends on inner power, since at our level only this power can act consciously. The universal power cannot be considered conscious in the sense in which we understand the word consciousness, since in this case we would immediately turn into a personified God. So, electricity, which we call phatic or intracosmic, is the basis of phenomena, and we have the next key point. While Foucault, having collected several clumps of cosmic matter, nebula, and given it an impulse sets it in motion again, and having developed the necessary warmth, allows it to follow its new growth. On what principle does Fohat collect several clods of cosmic matter, corresponding to the universe, the solar system, planet, corresponding consciousness inhabiting their beings? Fohat changes the structure of the nebula. It divides the primary substance into atoms, which themselves are the source of all life and consciousness. The spread and contraction of the fabric, the pulse of motion, the correct contraction and propagation of the infinite and boundless ocean, a noumenon of matter, Svabhavat, which generates a universal pulsation of atoms. That is, the combination of spirit and matter creates atoms and their pulsation. What kind of pulsation are we talking about? The atom itself, or a collection of atom matter? The human heart also pulsates, contracting and expanding. And this is the fabric, the plastic essence of spirit of matter and spirit of matter. The pulsation comes from the interaction of internal and external. The heat is internal and external in each atom. When the body dies, then the pulsation disappears. The pulsation appears from the interaction. The heat is internal and external in each atom, the breath of the Father Spirit and the breath or warmth of the Mother. So, losing heat, a gaseous body contracts, and the amount of heat generated by compression exceeds the amount it must lose in order to produce compression. Here we have the laws of karma, the laws of evolution. This is also the base for the growth of the human mind. Exactly here in this wonderful thought, while contraction, the external fire becomes internal fire. This is the heat. During contraction, the external fire turns into an internal fire, which is the heat that exceeds the amount of heat that must be lost in order to produce compression. That is during pulsation, contraction, and cooling. Fohat transforms the inner fire into heat, independent from propagation of its new growth, which is life. Does the required heat depend on the number of clots of cosmic matter? Heat is a consequence of the vital impulse which brings into cohesion the primary elements collected into clots of Fohat, the amount of heat required for the cohesion. So, the amount of heat required for the cohesion. Fohat develops the necessary heat by giving impetus to the clots of cosmic matter. Fohat transforms internal fire into independent heat for the spread of new growth. Therefore, the manifestation of the heat will take place in the clots ready for independent future life. What does the fabric look like during the period of fiery nebula? Cooled by a radiant, dazzling light for clairvoyance, as Yelena Petrovna says. For a person, it is felt in a dense state as flashes in the darkness of brain neurons, and by the eye of human external vision, it is perceived as sunlight. This is the explanation of the thought and the flash of the crossed current. And we see this lightning when the current comes, and the person can see this. During the period of the fiery nebula, the fabric appears as a living or a breathing structure of space. Fabric pulsation contributes to the emergence of various luminous correlates of electricity. Fohat is cosmic electricity, granulation of primary matter. It clumps sparks, which in this form can already penetrate the dense layers of Earth's atmosphere. When it cools, it becomes radiant. Her sounds unfold and contract by themselves and with their hearts. They contain infinity. At the 7th level, form disappears completely, and there is nothing that can be set in motion. So we have two opposite forces, and this great heart brings the harmony, and there is unlimited force here. So on the 7th level, we don't have anything that has movement, which means that at this moment the internal becomes one with the external. This is the center. How does the breath of the Father create a focus of consciousness? By the will of the universal law of eternal breath, the focus of absolute consciousness is created by reflection. The Father's breath connects the unreal and the real, the eternal and non-eternal. The focus of the consciousness is a pattern of eternity arising from the unified state. The center of warmth is the 0 point. Because they're spiritual, the breath of fire over it, it spreads and scatters. The breath of the mother or root of matter touches it, it contracts and becomes a fetus. At the end of the day, the union of spirit and matter. Striving downwards is the spirit matter, striving upwards is the matter of spirit. Man is also an atom, which is characterized by the forces of attraction and repulsion, a microcosm and of the macrocosm. But can we say that having strength and intelligence, he is able to live and act independently of other human beings? Or could he act and move at all if he didn't have power and intelligence behind him, even greater than his own, that is, those that allow him to live and move on his higher level of intelligence and strength? That is why Svayabhava is the name of the first Manu. Who was Manu? According to the Secret Doctrine, this Manu was not a man, but was a representation of the first human races developed with the help of the Theankogans at the beginning of the first circle. This Manu was of high level of intelligence and strength. His laws state that there are 14 Manus for each kalpa, or the period of time between two creations, or rather the interval from one small pralaya to another. And in the present divine age, there have been only 7 Manus so far. Manus Svayabhuva is
Therefore, it
Brahma
becomes
or
Yehovah
Logos.
or Yehovah Eve. In this aspect, in Latin, it's defined as male and female, as Manu Swayambhuva or Brahma divides himself to become Brahma Viraj and Vak Viraj, male and female. We have this idea of the spiritual, know yourself in the world below, than for spiritual to know themselves in the upper world. We can see it as the hourglass. It moves, striving down loads, and vice versa. Here is the great exchange of life and death. There is no death. There is the eternal motion. When what was above is combined below, then it turns, and the below becomes the above. One of the purposes of the Secret Doctrine is to prove that the motion of the planets cannot be explained to the satisfaction by the theory of gravity. alone. In addition to the force acting within the matter, there is a force influencing the matter. And when we talk about various states of spirit matter, although it would be more appropriate to talk about force, calling them by various names such as heat, cold, light, and darkness, attraction and repulsion, electricity and magnetism, etc., the occultist sees in them simpler names reflecting differences in the manifestation of one and the same force, always dual in its differentiation, but not the diversity of forces. The occultist says the same force, it's one. And then there is the divine will that establishes order and harmony in the world, that is the great of harmony and balance comes. The free force of will, it's unlimited and absolute, cannot be said that it acts consciously, since it's one and only and immutable law is there. Therefore, Fohat is considered only a synthetic driving force and bound of life forces and an intermediary between different aspects of this life. This is the connecting link, just as manas and the connecting link between the gross matter and the physical body and the divine monad, which animates it but cannot affect it directly. Fohat is the vehicle of the law, representative of the manas putras, which together constitute the eternal mind. The 11 powerful sons of Brahma, born by him spiritually, according to the Hindu mythology. The 11 sons of Brahma corresponds to Sloka 11, that is the reflection of the actions of the Fohatic forces by representative of the 11 Manasaputras. They constitute the totality of the eternal mind. In the Hindu mythology, the first four newborns converted to sannyasins immediately after birth, becoming devotees of Vishnu. They remained children and could not constitute the family line because they avoided procreation and remained eternal youth or kumaras. They are called so kumaras or princes. Sanat Kumar is the elderly, and in the fifth chapter, there are the 9 creations revealed, the 3 primary creations, the 5 secondary creations, and the 9th creation when the Kumaras were born, which is considered at the same time primary and the secondary. They are also called Vaihatra, patronymic name for Sanat Kumaras, after which Brahma created 7 sages and created the universe. The mythical progenitors of the human race are also called Prajapati. Prajapati in Sanskrit is the Lord of creation. So in Hindu Brahmanism, for example, the laws of Manu, Brahma is called the active creator, guardian of universe, is called Prajapati. He is also called Manu Swayambhuva, the son of Brahma and the creator of 10 rishis, the spiritual sons of Brahma, from whom the entire human race descended. They are also called the Prajapati, the 7 rishis. They are the progenitors. They identified with the 7 great rishis or Maharishis or sages. They are the sons of Manas, if we call them literally, the sons of mind, and that is the name given to higher selves because before they incarnated into humanity. In the exoteric, though allegorical and symbolic Puranas, this title is given by the mind to the born sons of Brahma, or the Kumaras. When the planets from the planetary chain enter the eclipse phase, then the planet loses its qualities, including warmth, and remains the status quo, like the sleeping beauty until Fohat, that is the Prince Charming, awakens it with a kiss, with a motion, with a ray. The Nitya Pralaya is the separation and dispersion. That's the eternal and unceasing Pralaya that begins with the first appearance of the planets and differentiated matter. It's the atomic change. Thanks to the internal power, bounding strength, they jointly try to unite with a single universal of free force. In other words, to embrace infinity, for this free force has no boundaries. It's the radiant power, the divine free will, and it becomes the absolute light and absolute darkness or light. The suns unfold with their bodies, with their hearts, and they contain infinity, become the primordial light or the absolute darkness. How do the suns unfold, contract themselves and hearts? How do they accommodate infinity? The suns are threefold. They are from Father Mother, having their traits and qualities. They came into rotation and compression, and with their hearts, they are the suns. They contain infinity at the end of the day of Brahma. That is, the objective of evolution has not been exhausted, and the suns and the minds, they build a fabric by themselves. The fabric is their body, the form of the high mind, while the breath above is the state of unmanifested mind. That is, in manifested states, when the breath touches, causeless worms arises, and then contraction and spreading occurs, and then is the pulse, and then the heart builds and beats and contains infinity by updating currents and consciousness. There is the cross inside, and in the focus in the center, there is the concentration of this head. The form disappears, and the acting power is in its solemn solitude. Why does the active force remain in solemn solitude? The force remains in a contemplative state of solemn solitude after the impulse is given to every atom, and the ocean comes alive for the new evolutionary cycle of the wheels and the will. The acting power in solemn solitude is there because inaction disappears when the force is gathered for action. The active force renews consciousness. It remains in solemn solitude, and the force is Om. The key point here is the following. The acting force in solemn solitude is the force of renewal of consciousness from which the Swabhavat fabric is created. All existing in the world and the monad is the following result of peculiarities of differentiation of matter, which is influenced by a single free force with the help of that part of its essence that we call the bound force of the material molecules. The fabric begins to cool by itself without any external influence. And when does it happen? It happens when the bound force of mind are present in every atom of differentiated essence. That is the intelligent force that is about to shape and guide them. The free will forms the bearers of this power, which are the Dhyani Buddhas. And they are the different hierarchies, the four hierarchies of the four builders. The former are under the guidance of the builders themselves, the gods of the cosmocrates. The later are others, spirits of the elements, creatures developing the four kingdoms of elements, the four elements. The Kabbalists call them gnomes or earth, selves of air, salamanders of fire, and undines of water, and these forces can produce various effects. They are all emanations of still more supersensitive spiritual qualities, not personified but belonging to the true, real, and conscious causes. Considering this phenomenal universe and the great illusion, the closer the body comes to incomprehensible essence, the closer it's to reality, for thereby it's the most distant from this world of Maya. The first cause that creates this ascension is comparable to charioteer in the supersensible state of matter in motion, the force nature of elemental. But behind this, just the owner of chariot guides the charioteer from within stands the highest nominal cause, the mind. That is the point. That is the formula of the point, the essence, given this state of mother, given birth to countless billions of elementals or psychic spirits of nature, just as each drop of water gives birth to its infinitesimal stellates. The immutable laws of existence mean that the weak species shall clear the space for the strong ones, and therefore they establish the experience of the fittest. Nevertheless, they all work towards the great consummation, for this great beginning to be there. The very fact that these adaptations occur and the fittest survive in the struggle for existence indicates that the what is called unconscious nature is the reality, a totality of forces wielded by semi-intelligent beings or elementals, guided by the high planetary spirits Dianichohanis, the totality of which forms the manifested verb for the unmanifested logos and simultaneously constitutes the mind of the cosmos and the immutable law. The 7 sons of Wuhat are the 7 forms of cosmic magnetism, called in practical occultism 7 principalities, the active and cooperative progeny of which, among other energies, are electricity, magnetism, sound, light, heat, cohesion, etc. Occult science defines them all as supersensible effects with the hidden influences as the objective phenomena of the world of senses. The sun maintains and gives power to all living creatures, and therefore there is the sensible world. It fits our world with multiple and universal diversity of forms. The mind embraces everything with its light as the sun, and therefore there is development of mind without end. And this light, it condenses into forms, the lords of existence, the first and highest among them collectively represent Jivatma and Pratyagatma, which, symbolically speaking, emanates from Paramatma. It doesn't have consciousness at this plane, they are too high, reflecting the divinity of the source. Other elementals have consciousness on this plane, since they reflect man and his nature. For the fathers, lower angels being spirits of nature, and the higher elementals also have a kind of intelligence inherent in them, but it's all not enough to build a thinking personality. The key point is the following. What is needed was the living fire that gives human mind self-knowledge and self-awareness, or manas. One of representations of the reflection of the supreme in the kingdom of nature is the world of dolphins. Today, several sciences are trying to decipher the signals given by dolphins as the sum or the totality of the signals concentrating in their body. The experiment has been carried out by British scientists. In 2006, a team of British researchers from the University of St. Andrews conducted a series of experiments that show that dolphins each have their own name. They give each one a name and can recognize these names. Dolphins have a system of sound signals. Signals are of 2 types. Echolocation or sonar, they serve for exploring the situation, detecting obstacles, prey, chirps or whistles for communication with the relatives, also expressing the emotional state of the dolphin. The signals are carried out at very high frequencies that are inaudible for the human ear. The sound perception of people is in the frequency band up to 20 kilohertz. Dolphins use the frequency of 200 kilohertz. That is the frequency of sound expressed in kilohertz, the number of cycles and vibrations per second. So here are the highest currents they work at. Currently, the scientists have recorded 186 various whistles in the speech of dolphins. They have approximately the same level of organization of sound as the person does. 6, that is sound, syllable, word, phrase, paragraph, etc. And that is the process of action of subtle energies manifesting themselves in the minds of mineral, plant, and animal kingdoms of nature which precede the appearance of man. The nameless power can be manifested in all phenomena of forms. But what is this unified nameless power? Each form, according to the patents inscribed for it in the eternity and reflected in the divine mind. When the centrifugal and centripetal forces of life are being subordinated to this single nameless force that organizes disorder and harmonizes chaos, the cooling process begins. The key point is the following. The sons of mind unfold and contract by themselves and their hearts. They contain infinity as the heart becomes an infinite boundless space, and the three have become one. What is this innate force that is always there? It is the power of perfection or the power of evolution, or Yahoo, the power of light, heat, and energy. Humanity, the Trinity, becomes the Holy Four. The innate power is love. It strives for the essence that gives birth to it, for the three divine will. This one free force is the higher mind, or the higher forces is Aum. Aum is the power of renewal and consciousness. As power, it connects all in one. That is the pillar of light, the Trinity in one. That is the ray unit, or Atman. That is the Atman, the highest spirit in man, which in conjunction to Buddha and Manas is called the upper triad or Trinity.
This triad, along with its four lower human principles, is also developed in an auric atmosphere like a yolk of an egg, the future embryo developed as an albumin and shell. For the perceptions of higher beings from other realms, this transforms each individual into an oval sphere with more or less radiance. Aum is a symbol of combination of high energies. Aum is a prayer. Prayer can be compared to a magnet. The action of prayer tenses the heart. It attracts the best thoughts from space. Something other than heat will not be designated as causeless heat, breath of fire, all creative force plus absolute intelligence. The key point: the sounds are minds that build the fabric by themselves. The fabric is their body and the form of the higher mind. When the breath above, it is the state of unmanifested mind. When the breath touches this, arises causeless heat. Then there is a contraction and spread. This is the pulse. This is how the heat beats, which accommodates infinity by renewal of currents or conscious. So, how does the creative power merge with an absolute mind? At the end of the day of Mahamanvantara, there is a dissolution, a merging of the unity, the absolute of its rarefaction, into the infinite duration of the night of Brahma. The creative force merges with the absolute mind in the pulsation of eternity, and this action is limitless. This is how each impulse renews the fabric of consciousness. This is how the heat becomes infinite. This is why the heat is unlimited space. Conclusion: everyone weaves by themselves the space of the fabric through their best manifestations of psychic energies and their own sunlight and warmth. Thus, the pattern of each individual thought merges with the pattern of eternity and becomes one with it. It spreads when the breath of fire is above it. It contracts when the mother's breath touches it. Then the suns separate and scatter in order to return to the bosom of the mother at the end of the great day, in order to reconnect with her. When it cools down, it becomes radiant. Her suns unfold and contract by themselves, and with their hearts they contain infinity. This is it. Dear friends, thank you so much that you were here till the end of the presentation. Thanks for your questions. They show that you have been listening very attentively. So when there is a renewal, when the shape starts changing, this process becomes a great joy. Now, I would like to start the briefing, and we have the first question. Can we say that the breath of fire controls the matter? Breath of Father, well, Father indeed symbolizes will. There is a creation with the help of that fabric. Thanks a lot. Next question, please. And does the breath of mother touching the fabric brings it into the balance? I would say it is not exactly the balance. It is rather it is shown the equality of impulse or pulsation is in place. The Sloka actually answers this question. It is not balanced, it is contracted. There is a contraction. And it creates the impulse. Next question. After the body dissolves, does it have the shape of crystal? Well, in the energetic plane, yes. But there is no shape after dissolving. Any body becomes the shape of crystal or pure conductor if it is constructed by high energies. There is no shape after dissolving. Next question. Can we suppose that one limitlessness includes many other unlimited ones? Or is it the only one? And can the suns include unlimited thing in themselves? Well, I don't think it's possible that there are a lot of different unlimitedness. It's the only one. Well, if we're talking about the absolute space, then it is reflected and it also has the reflection in that endless worlds. And with this condition, they build the further worlds. This is connection with the unified space. If we could say that unlimited space is multiplied on multiple space. While pure spirit is a very pure substance from which the fabric is weaved, and it is unlimited. Next question, who are the suns? We have talked a lot about them, and still we have the question, who are they and how can they have that unlimited space? Well, suns have different names, but they are the consequence of a force. So if there is this interaction by this cohesion, the suns make this focus. We can say that they make, let's say, a pot, a cup, which spreads the spirit. This is what the suns have inside them. Any more details about it? Well, suns are the forces of the internal life in certain conditions. They create nature of things. Thanks a lot for your active work. Thanks that you have given us a lot of questions. And the next question is about this shloka. What means to spread and then to contract by themselves? Impulse, the pulsation from internal space into external space. It's the pulse of the universe. Next question. What combination of the fiery waves? Oh, well, this means similar sound. This is the combination. This is the synthesis. Similar sounds make the synthesis. Well, I thought it is the fiery wave. A fire is the primordial substance. Well, which means it is the ocean. Matrix lucida and surnida. What is the difference between them? Let me answer this question. The difference between this matrix one, there is no cohesion between substance and shape. And the other one is on the astral plane, matrix matter. Surgina is the matter of the sun. It connects the external and the internal. This is the difference between those two matters. If we take the matrix matter, which is potential, lucida is numen, and phenomenon is the asurgina. Yes, thank you very much. And again, we're talking about the stanza 3 is about the surgina. The universe is built by the plan of existence. Next question. What is the external reason that has a consequence of some influence? Well, it is always about the opposite forces. They give the new combination and the new shape. So there was a conflict between those opposite forces, and the nature of the force changes with the help of that external argument, because inside there is the harmony. This is the consequence. In other words, this world So then what force is isolated? And can we see it in the usual life of humans? Thanks for that question. Well, isolation, as I have already told you, it's the space and time that defines the mindset of the person. Space and time fixes the human in this certain mindset. I came across the idea about the overthinking, that this isolated force a phenomenon can be just a consequence of something. It cannot appear just by itself. So when we have these forces isolated power, this is like the habit of overthinking. And how can we get rid of this habit? When we get rid of that habit, we make our karma easier. Our thoughts change after the crossing of the currents. And then we also have
Почему? Он оживляет жемчужные мысли. Возникает не жемчуг, а жемчужина мысли.
then the human can have a brilliant thoughts which make the heart warmer, and then the joy appears, and this heat it is never tired. It is full of energy. It is also called Raja Yoga. And exactly this condition, psychologists also talk about this condition. And when we apply this knowledge to the human, any person can heal from depression using this condition, to change the thoughts, to make them, to put them on a higher level. Then these flashes, these explosions of the current, because the human is the accumulation of energy himself, you are able to escape some bad conditions. Thanks a lot for this question. And the next one: if the electricity is the base of all phenomena, well, we actually have already answered this question. If the electricity is cause of all phenomena, the electricity is also inside a human. How is it expressed? Well, desire is energy itself. It is the energy that influences on the will, and then, according to the will, electricity inside the human is accumulation of psychic energy. And psychic energy makes the human alive. These centers start to interact with each other. The psychic energy can penetrate all centers of psychic energy. And in this way, the human becomes conductor by himself. Well, yes, it is connected through the condition of his mindset. The desires of a human define his existence and his life. We have questions. We have discussed 12 of them, and the last question will be: what is the nature of eternal mind? The nature of eternal mind we talked about breathing, internal breathing. the start of impulse. And there are three components here. This is the great Aum, and it stays in a solemn solitude. Aum always puts up the thought, and this is the higher self of a human. And clarity, clairvoyance, and other conditions like this inside the human, these are true conditions which are final for humanity in the field of human consciousness. Yes, and then the transformation takes place, the real one, when the force of this third energy or the sun can help you to avoid the overthinking, it can help to make the karma easier, can reinforce the law that takes a person higher up. Then the opinion of other people doesn't define you anymore, which means that the person stays in solitude, and then the real transformation takes place. There is nothing except the higher self, and you reflect it. That's why the opinion of other people has no influence on you. And as the song says, I'm free. Yes, the mind is free. There is no more overthinking. The movement of life appears, the pulse appears, and the most important, this old mindset. We do not include hope in there because hope is included in the new thing. We are not getting attached to it, and this freedom, this quick lightning of the thought is the transformation about which we were talking in Sloka 11th. When one thing becomes equal to the other thing, they connect, and then there appears a third thing, and the suns turn, and in their hearts they have the unlimited space. We wish you all have this moment because the thought doesn't need time to appear. It takes just a small second, and we wish you to stay in this condition that you can have this pulse and this pattern of eternity, and that you add your own pattern to that pattern of eternity. Thank you very much. Today is 11th of April, Sloka 11. The answers to the questions give a lot of a feeling of energy. And there is no limit for this movement, which means you can study those shlokas unlimited. And I hope this way of study is going to be the way of joy for you. This is how we touched the unlimited space. Thanks a lot. We wish you all the best. Thanks a lot for the questions. Thanks that you have been so active and you sent a lot of emojis and hearts. Those small hearts are like flashes and lightnings of your reactions. It's great that we have discussed so many ideas and thoughts. Nature is the soul, and the soul had an opportunity to have a lot of great thoughts today. We're going to discuss next topic soon. And let's leave the old mindset.
The Secret Doctrine by Blavatsky. Dedicated to all true Theosophists. Book of the Third Millennium.
Blavatsky only knew